that bush. It's a trap!
Muss sie denn zum Städte hinaus, und du, mein Schatz, bleibst hier. Wenn die kommt, wenn die wiederkommt, geh ich ein, mein Schatz, bei dir. Kann die kleine Teil bei dir sein, kann die doch mein Freund an dir. Wenn die kommt, wenn die wiederkommt, geh ich ein, mein Schatz, bei dir. Wenn die kommt, wenn die wiederkommt, geh ich ein, mein Schatz, bei dir.
Achtung, Panzer! Hello and welcome to another video from Head Oberst. And today I will be doing a video showing myself and Karetaker, and we will be driving the German tanks. Now I am doing this video for those of you in the Great Marine who may be wanting to play World of Tanks, and you are deciding with your bold Teutonic hearts that you want to start the German line. Then I have some news for you. The German line has some glorious tanks, and it also has some disappointment in store for you. And we will get into this as you watch the gameplay in the video. Now here we have one of the highlight tanks, and since we have been focusing on tier 6 tanks, here is another keeper, the VK-3002M. I know what you're thinking and what you want to say here. You're going to say, WTF, Oberst, what is los? What is a VK-3002M? That is surely a Panther there. And I will say, calm down, Liebchens. It is a Panther. This tank is based on the prototype of the famous German Panther tank, and it is at tier 6. Now here you see it fully upgraded, and basically when you look at this vehicle, what you are seeing is the Panther Aus D, the first Panther model to come off the production lines, which was rushed out in time for the Battle of Kursk. Where it performed very poorly. But here we go, in the game. This is really where the Panther should have been put at in this game, in tier 6. Why? Because in the game, the Panther finds itself at tier 7. There, along with many other tanks, medium tanks, in tier 7, it is a disappointment. And we are going to look at some of the Tier 7 vehicles, and I will tell you why it is that the Panther is terrible, and why you should really, if you can, free XP it, go beyond it to the Tier 8 Panther 2, which is a better tank to be operating. So, here's my Panther, which you see is collecting dust in my garage. And actually I downgraded it for some strange reason. But this is what it looks like when fully upgraded. And as you can see, I took off everything. The crew is actually now in my VK. When that tank came out. So, here's the problem. With the Panther at Tier 7, these are your choices of guns. And they're all 75mm guns, the two main ones. You've also got the 105mm howitzer, which is really worthless to use at Tier 7. It's just a terrible, I mean, it's great at Tier 5, a lot of fun, but by Tier 7, it's just a waste to use it. Now, this gun here, 75mm, Quick 42, L70, that is a historical gun that was put on the Panther. And this gun here, I guess, is a gun they were developing, but it never saw service. Now, the weird thing here, and the sad thing, is that they do not offer the 88, which is what the Schmal term, this turret, was specifically designed for, was to put the Tiger's 88mm gun into the Panther. Now, you will get it, you'll get that particular gun with the Panther 2 at Tier 8. But sadly, like a lot of other Tier 7 tanks, you really find yourself with why they show this as a Tier 8 gun. You get great armor penetration. That's one thing. But you're stuck with the same damage, 135 average points of damage, that you get at Tier 5 with the 75mm gun on a Panzer IV. That's where the problem is with a lot of the Tier 7 tanks. Another example would be right here when you get into the Tier 40, the T-43 Russian tank. Again, you're stuck with the same gun, Top Gun, that you can get on the T-34. Now, I happen to like the T-43, but when it comes to the Panther, it's just a letdown, especially when you compare it to history, where we all know the Panther 75mm gun was definitely considered one of the best tank weapons ever installed during the Second World War. The gun had laser accuracy. You didn't have to lob shells at distance. If you pointed, well, let's look at, because this has the same gun right here. That's the gun it's supposed to have. If you pointed this gun at a tank 2,000 yards away, that shell would shoot like a laser towards the target. You didn't have to lob the they didn't have to lob the shell. That's because of the high velocity of this gun. So the sad thing is that yes, you get great penetration and everything, but you're just nitpicking tanks at your targets at Tier 7 with this tank. Now, there are some people that like to play it, but to me, it's not a tank I enjoy playing at Tier 7. It just doesn't work right. Now, I do have some of the I do have some of the premiums, which I do play, premium versions of the Panther, simply because they're premium tanks and they help to train my German crews. And as you can see, my VK3002M crew is assigned to this Panther M10. So, when you look at some of the other tanks at Tier 7, now the Russians do get a couple of decent tanks. They get this A-44, which has a great gun, and basically that's a heavy tank gun. Now it has no gun depression, but at least it can do decent damage in a battle to the tanks it comes up against. There's also the KV-13, which is a good medium tank in its tier, but again, you're stuck with the T-34-85's 85mm gun. So it's almost like, why bother? For me, I'm a tank collector, so yes, there are some of the Tier 7s that I keep. Here's another one that's kind of a disappointment, but I keep it because it's British, and I like the British tanks. So this one here has a slightly improved version of the 75mm gun. Basically, this is a gun that was developed from the 17-pounder. It has a decent rate of fire, but it also does slightly more damage than the Panther with this gun, but it's a bit disappointing when you're dealing with tanks up to Tier 9. You're just nitpicking them. So that's the problem with the Tier 7 mediums. A lot of people are upset by the performance of Tier 7, and they'll usually, once they grind through, get a Tier 8, they'll sell the Tier 7 and start using the Tier 8 vehicle instead, maybe put the crew into the Tier 8. So a lot of the Tier 7 tanks are just the medium tanks specifically the medium tanks are a bit disappointing because of the way Wargaming outfitted them. So, back to the VK, which you will see in gameplay here in just a second. And this tank is really the way that, if you want to play the Panther, this is the tank to buy and keep and have battles with. You'll enjoy it. At Tier 6, it's a fun tank. I really like it, but like I say, the Panther will disappoint you. We'll be talking about some of the other German tanks, like the Tiger, which is, of course, the Tiger is one of the big draws for people to play World of Tanks, and it's also one of the biggest causes for critical threads in the World of Tanks forum boards when it comes to the disappointment that people have when they get all the way to the Tiger and then they feel that the Tiger underperforms. And we'll get into that here in the video, so here we go. It's going to be an enjoyable ride, I hope. We are going to be focusing on German tanks tonight. Und ist Herr Oberst and Karetaker, und we are platooning, and the games will most probably suck because I'm going to be talking about tanks, which tends to make Karetaker fall asleep. You Schweinhund!
Oh wait, you didn't start the game yet.
Okay, let's go. Alright. So we're going into battle, and while we're going in, the reason I'm doing German tanks tonight is because most players that get into this game usually are looking to get tanks like the Panther and the Tiger, and they get there and they get those tanks, and then all of a sudden they're upset. We're going to go to our usual spot.
Roger, roger.
And I mean, you've seen this, haven't you? Where people, all the time, they start threads in the forum and that, griping about the Tiger, and why the Tiger doesn't do as well as it did in real life.
Oh yeah, constantly.
And the thing is that most people don't realize there's two issues, well, several issues with this game. One of those issues is that it's simply game balancing. The Tiger, while it can be top tiers, tier 7, and see Shermans, the games are still balanced because the teams are balanced. So that the Tiger's up against tanks that can defeat it, like the IS. Things like that. But it may still see Shermans, but it's just not seeing all Shermans, which is what people are hoping for.
Well, in reality, the Tiger didn't fight 1 or 2 Shermans. It usually came up against 10 or more. Or
right, at the very least 5.
Yeah.
And there was only the one Tiger usually.
Yeah, that was the fair fight. 8-1 or 5-1.
Right. But so many people get upset. Not there he is. Dang it. No.
JP too quick.
Yep. Quickies. He's on the other side of the ridge. No shots on that guy. Our guys are too. Oh, and we just lost 2 of them because they're too far forward trying to hold that ridge. We do not guarantee good games tonight.
No.
I'm wondering if we should just go help push the with the heavies over there real fast.
Is that a Tog climbing that hill?
Hmm?
There's a Tog climbing that hill over there.
Yep. But they've pretty much got the 1-2 line. See, they've just taken out the last TD over there.
Can we drop back and go around the hill and see if we
We
stop
can.
them?
This is sad.
You probably are worse than Jeb Bush.
I don't
Spotted.
think so. No, I don't think so.
I'm not.
Don't stay too close to me. Guardy shoots at me. It might miss and hit you.
Roger that. Well, we're pulling this back a little bit. Oh, there we go. T-150 coming up.
It's a trap!
Switching to gold.
And I am spotted. Whoa.
Spotted.
Yes, this is a light tank here.
Missed again.
Watch him, he's coming at you. Damn it. Did you get him?
Yeah, I hit the brakes and he slammed into me.
Well, they're now shooting at us.
Oh, they got me.
Yeah, they're all over the place here.
I slammed in reverse and I killed him by backing up.
Oh, God.
You should have seen it from my point of view. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I wish I could have. But I'm still alive here. And I'm the only guy holding the base. I'm gonna get overwhelmed. There he is.
It's a trap! You want
Lots of
some?
points.
You want some?
Tier 6 tank, tier 8 hit
He's a
one,
little behind, yeah.
tier 5 guy.
He hit my hands.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one.
You're taking
Look at
hits from
those
that
hands.
team.
Are
Yeah,
they
I
small?
know. There's nothing I can do.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Unless they somebody come back to help you, they ain't gonna do much.
No.
Because you're up
It's a
against all
trap.
heavies. Here comes the Todd.
I'm a free trader.
He's a
Yeah,
dirty,
yeah.
rotten, filthy
Get on the
thug
other side of that
with
rock.
a disgusting cap.
There's nowhere to go.
The American dream is dead.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this is the kind of age you get late at night. But anyway,
I'm surprised. Late at night used to be really good games.
yeah, it used to be, but not anymore. This is what I've been noticing, because this is when I've been trying to make videos, and you just wouldn't believe how bad these teams are at night. It's a pain. But yeah, anyway, with the Tiger, I mean, that's one of the problems, is that in order to have balanced matchmaking, they have to put the Tiger up against tanks that are comparable, like the IS, and yet the IS is a tank that didn't come out until late 1944. The Tiger had been in service since 1942, so that's the problem. That's one of the problems you got. Second problem is that the game is hit point based. You want to try that again, Satan Tanks?
Sure.
And because it's hit point based, rather than real life, in that one shell penetrating a tank can, wreck the tank, that hurts the Tiger. It also hurts tanks like the Panther, which historically could one-shot an IS. So you got the hit point problem, then you've got the issue with the shells in the game, where the developers have put a priority, which that leads to the Russian bias, where everybody thinks, oh, these guys, the Russian tanks, they perform better. Okay, we're gonna hit for the forest like we usually do.
Roger that.
And that's the other problem, is that shell size in the game matters. Where in real life it's more about
this country
velocity.
urge people to the false song of globalism.
Well, velocity does play a role in the game, especially when you're using
It does.
Like, for example, if you're using the Roomba, the shell velocity is slow. You have to lead your target a lot more than
Right.
you would if you were, say, using the T-34s,
Right.
which is a higher velocity shell.
But again, with the Roomba, it does so much damage because of the caliber of the gun.
Well, I was just using that as an example
Yeah.
of the comparable shell velocities to where, where how you were saying that in reality it wasn't so much shell size as it was velocity as much
Right.
as it is in the game, where the shell velocity does play a part in this game, just not as much as it did in real life.
Well, it's like in the game, I no longer play the Panther, even though I've still got it, but the crew from the Panther is in this tank. And that's because, to me, this tank represents the Panther more and in a more balanced way than the Tier 7 Panther, which underperforms because of the 75mm gun. I mean, it's one of the reasons most of the Tier 7 medium tanks underperform. We may be able to go through here. I'm right behind you.
Either this is going to work out real well or turn out very bad.
Or, yeah, it's going to suck. One of the two. But I think they're much further back.
We're at the end of the map.
Yeah.
We had a heavy that was coming with us too.
Yeah, KB2. Oh, right there already.
You know, you're really beautiful. It's a trap!
We never attacked him on this look,
I just took a hit, but it didn't pen. So whatever's over here. There we go. M6.
Watch the other Artie. What is he?
Don't know, but I'm not seeing. Okay, good. M6 is gone.
He's an M44, so he can hurt. When
Roger that. Their guy just warned over open line. ABC, alright. It's the ABC, alright.
ABC. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
And here's the bad thing about this tank. No gun depression.
Hey guys, El Tigres. I'm spotted.
You want some? You want some?
I just took a hit.
He's firing at us.
I don't know. Oh, they're there. They're coming. It's coming from the hill.
Okay, I'm watching him.
Me. Trying to get under his line of fire.
Watch yourself.
I'm trying to get up here to this M6 to use the M6 as cover.
I got their scout. I see their stug.
Don't give him their coat. No coat.
Damn it. They're gonna
You're a
kill
tough
me.
guy.
Okay, he's dead. Hang on. Ah, shit. I gotta move up. Sorry.
Too much open ground there, not enough cover.
Yeah.
You want some?
And without the gun depression, I couldn't use the rolling hills to hide behind. I'm surprised that M44 didn't open up on us.
Yeah. Damn it. They're making them back up and I can't get shots when they're like that.
Well, they're headed to push through our TEs on the other side.
Come on, guys, get some spots.
Attacked him on his look, and believe me,
Tiger.
there's plenty of subject matter right there.
He's staying low now, so.
It's been a great success. You know, you're really beautiful.
We're gonna have to start looking at somebody else.
You know, you're really beautiful.
It's a trap!
He's an insecure guy.
But yeah, I won't even play the Panther anymore because I keep it just in case they try to redo that historical battle thing.
Right.
But I won't play it, and I mean, to me, it's one of the worst tier 7s. And it's simply because they go by the shell, the weight, you know, and size of the shell, and that makes a difference in how much damage the shell does to a tank, which in real life, it was all about the shell penetrating. And German shells they had explosive. They were designed that once they entered the tank, they would detonate, where Allied shells were just solid steel. I was watching a thing on the Grant tank a couple of nights ago, and real interesting, they were talking about how the British had captured a bunch of German ammunition. And you know the 75mm gun in the sponson, right? Not the turret gun, the the gun that makes it act like a tank destroyer, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, that gun could take the German ammunition.
No kidding.
Yeah. So the British, because the German anti-tank rounds had an explosive charge, they were firing those back at the Germans.
That's funny. Talk about poetic justice.
Yeah. So I thought it was real cool. That was something, I mean, even at my age, I thought I knew everything, and when it comes to tanks and that, and I didn't know they were using German ammunition until I saw this documentary.
Learn something new every day.
Well, we won with that one. Let's see. Next German tank. We will use our derp guns.
Would you believe me if I told you I took the derp gun off this tank?
No, I wouldn't, actually.
Smart man.
Put it back on because you make money with this gun. You don't have to run gold rounds. Although I carry 3 heat rounds with this tank, but I've never used them. They're collecting dust.
I carry 5.
Yeah, I just carry 3, and the rest is all HE. I just don't trust heat rounds.
I think I put 10 armor piercing in here, just in case.
I'll tell you something. The day ever comes that I have a good game where the heat rounds are all doing their job and causing damage, I'm jumping in the car and going to Vegas.
I'll race you there.
Because I'm telling you, the RNG for heat rounds, you have better odds playing any slot machine in Vegas. Man, they're really pushing the voice chat here, aren't they?
But what it is that, like I said,
We
all
are
these people
going to make
teaming
America
up, not so much
great
to
again.
work together as much as to get the tickets, so that you get special things. I think you can get a rental tank and stuff like that.
Right.
But like I say, if you look at the ones that are supposedly platooning, unless they're the same team, 9 chances out of 10, they're all going in different directions.
Yeah. This is a tank right here that we're playing that is actually historically inaccurate in terms of its mobility. When you got it fully upgraded, it's basically it is a Panzer IV-H. Panzer IV-H could barely do 10 miles per hour.
Hey, that's not true. I watched Girls in Panzers.
The reason being, this tank, by the time the H came out, its hull was at its limit. I mean, the amount of armor they put on the tank by this time, this tank couldn't deal with it. You're looking at a tank that when it was first designed, it barely had 14 millimeters of armor all the way around. It's really more of a light tank than a medium.
Almost right behind this line here.
Yep.
At least one of them is. I see the tracer right now.
Yeah, there they are.
It's a trap!
Damn it.
Oops.
Oh wow, that didn't even. Oh, you know why it didn't work? I was firing my damn heat rounds. That's why it wasn't working, see? I told you. Heat rounds suck.
Crusader needs help.
Yeah, I see that.
I can't get up there to him.
No.
I think I'm gonna try. Oh, I got that one too.
It's a trap!
targeting the T-43.
She lost. I mean, she lost. No, you're really good.
I'm getting nailed here.
It's political bullshit. Low energy.
Stupid lightning's popping. Did you hear that, George? Don't pay him.
I'm gonna die here in a second.
This is not like even maybe about me.
I'm dead.
I don't want it to.
No
Sorry,
more
I'll
Oreos
keep
for
my
either
take
of
between
us,
you
Chris. Don't feel bad for either.
and
What
him.
happened? You can't shoot?
I'm reloading.
Oh.
I was trying to keep my tank between you and him so he couldn't shoot you.
Yeah, I know you were. I know you were. I appreciate that. Well, at least we have taken this side, and we've got 2 heavies holding the other flank, so we're doing okay. Now's the time to get that arty.
There's 2 of them. Go ahead, you go first, because there's usually a TD in that over there by those rocks.
But yeah, the Panzer IV had a lot of issues by the end of the war because the chassis just couldn't take all the weight and everything they were adding to the vehicle. But then that was the trait with all the German tanks. Even the Panther started having that problem because it was never really designed to be a 45-ton tank. It was supposed to be a 35-ton vehicle. Well, this wasn't quite the game we were hoping for. Put us in a tier 7, but
We win, we win.
we win again! The fatherland! But another reason why German tanks don't perform up to expectations is that a lot of the stuff that people believe about German tanks, a lot of it is myth. What do you have in Tier 4?
Tier 4. I know I've got Hetzer, because Hetzer's got a Hetz.
Okay, you can run your Hetzer if you want.
I've also got Matilda. Whoops, wrong button.
Oh, you know what? No, you can't run it because it'll put you in a higher game, damn it. I was going to have you run your Char B. But if you run those, it'll put... If you run that with me, you won't get your matchmaking.
You said Tier 4, you pulled up a Tier 3.
Oh, okay. Grab a Tier 3. Whatever you got in Tier 3. You don't have the S-35-739, do you?
No, wait, I don't...
It's a premium German tank.
S-35... Let's see, the German tanks, I've got the Panzer 2J, Todi 3, and I've got the PZ KPFW T15, and the Panzer 1C.
Okay, well grab... Oh boy. I'd say grab either your... Grab the Todi. That'll work.
Put that on it, and put that on it, and do I have any shells in it? Yeah, I've got shells on it. Put that on it.
The reason I chose this tank, this is the Panzer IV, as it was originally conceived. 1938, 1939, as it came out just in time for Poland. And this was the fantastic tank that Germany took into Poland and then took into France as well. And it was never designed at that time to be a main battle tank. It was an infantry support vehicle. That's why it has the little snub-barreled 75mm gun on it. It carried some AP, but it was primarily to fire HE for infantry support against enemy infantry, strong points, stuff like that. But this thing was a medium tank that had no armor.
Sure, it wasn't French.
No, the French actually, compared to this thing, French tanks had armor. I mean, this tank. This is the tank that went into France, and the French had no French armor was superior to this. Big time.
Tier 5 match.
No, I blame you.
Hey, it's your choice. I'm just a little tank here.
Yeah, that's it, but it's your fault.
Somebody
Because you're a scout.
tell it like it is.
Oh shit, you're a medium tank.
Yeah, a medium tank with 14mm of armor all the way around.
User joined your channel.
Hello, user. Can't hear you.
Feedback.
Yeah, we're just getting static. Let them be static. And here comes the Panzer III. This will be fun.
For you.
No, actually it won't, because the Panzer III's got it's a later edition Panzer III, so it's got more armor than me.
I actually.
Yeah, I saw you hit him.
I didn't think me pinning him was actually legal.
Yeah, everybody's going after him.
He's there alone if you look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an Excelsior back there.
Yeah, I see him. I'm in this little bloody thing. We're all tier 3s. We're gonna give these guys medals.
No, we have a tier 5 M4 in front of us. There'll be a heads up, yeah.
Heads got 2 heads.
I'm spotted. Hey, that ain't fair. He's turning his gun on me.
Yeah, I see that. I'm trying to get a... Okay, here he comes.
I'm just a
Why am I firing? High explosive. Okay, high explosive anti-tank. Okay, I gotta get rid of those, damn it. I got heat rounds in this tank. Shows how long it's been since I've played it. I'm actually running heat rounds in it.
If it wasn't for those Excelsiors, I could get around that head, sir.
Yeah. I can't get a shot. Go try and get up there.
They got my turret. Oh shit. I forgot to put repair kits on this thing, so I've got no gunner, my turret's shot, and here comes the martyr.
And the M4 took out the martyr.
And the heads are pointed right at me.
He's also pointed at these other guys. I wish the Panzer I would zip up there.
I got it.
Good job.
Wow, I'm actually gonna make money on this because I couldn't repair anything.
I'm not gonna hurt them. Not with HE.
You know, the sad thing is they're not rushing anybody.
Yeah, you would think they would, you know, instead of just sitting there.
Here they come. Open my mouth too soon.
China all the time. Wrong.
That's what you're gonna look like on April 1st.
Oh, shoot. I'm dead.
Put glasses on so we get out of here, smart.
I can't pin him. I couldn't even pin his side.
Yeah, but anyway, the whole reason we did that was just to highlight the Panzer IV because. So there you go. Just to elaborate a little bit more, after all that gaming action, the early German tanks, their one advantage was, and where the Germans were innovative, was that they had 5-man crews, which freed up the commander to really be able to pay attention to what was going on around his tank and, you know, get the crew to work accordingly. He wasn't having to worry about other things like loading the gun or aiming the gun or firing the gun or working on the radio, you know, listening on the radio. You could let a radio man listen to all the various traffic and let the radio man deal with discerning what was important for them to know and what they didn't need to know, etc. Things like that. I would say it was an advantage. Now, of course, you know, they play a big thing on that versus especially the French tanks, which had single-man turrets. The tank commander was up in the turret, and he was the guy like this tank here. This is a captured version of a French Samoa. But there have been interviews done with French tank commanders where the tank commander said, you know, we hear a lot where historians are saying we were overburdened with, you know, having to do various jobs and things like that. And some of the French commanders have said it wasn't a big problem for us. We could still see what was going on the battlefield. We could still pay attention to what was going on around us, and we could still work the gun and whatnot. So currently there's a debate as to just how much the 5-man crew played. The problem with the German tanks versus the tanks they were coming up against in France, primarily, not Poland, but in France, was that the German tanks, the Panzer III and the Panzer IV, were under-armored. And while they were using the same caliber gun, basically, as what the British and French were using, now here, this tank mounts a 47mm gun. The British had the 2-pounder. The problem here was that tanks like the Panzer III, with their 37mm, could not, they had issues penetrating the armor of this tank at range. They would have to get into close range to be able to penetrate the armor of this tank. In the meantime, the French guns could pepper the German tank before it could get in range. And so there's always been this big myth, because of the German, the quick victories in Poland and the quick victory in France, that the German Panzer divisions just overwhelmed. And that's only a half-truth. What won those battles, the Battle for France in 1940, was combined arms. It was the fact that the Germans had developed their armed forces arms, the Army and the Luftwaffe, the Air Force, to work together. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, was not developed for strategic warfare, even though they did use their medium bombers in the Spanish Civil War, and they got the wrong answer from the things they were doing, you know, bombing Guernica, the city of Guernica, and some of the other towns in Spain. They got the idea that the medium bomber was good enough for strategic warfare. But overall, the Luftwaffe was designed strictly to support the Army. That's why the Bf-109, the Messerschmitt, didn't have a long-range capability for escort. It was only designed to get over the front and have air superiority, secure air superiority over the front to protect the tanks, to protect the troops on the ground. And then the Luftwaffe, the Stukas, and the medium bombers would come in to blast holes in the enemy lines. They would hit the strong points. If Panzer Division came up against a stiff resistance, they called in the Stukas. And it was the training of the German soldier in the early part of the war, and their use of combined arms that gave them their victories. It wasn't that their tanks were superior to the tanks they were dealing with. The problem that Germany had when they went into Russia was that they expected Russia to be running around with the same kind of tanks the Poles had been using. The old little Vickers tanks, like the T-26. That's what they expected the Russians to have. They didn't expect them to have T-34s. They didn't expect them to have KVs. And when the Germans went in and they came across these tanks, it just, they didn't know how to deal with it. It was like they knew right away, these guys have superior tanks to us. And the only thing that saved the Germans in the first year of the war on the Eastern Front was that they were better trained thanks to Stalin purging his generals in the mid to late 30s and getting rid of all of his trained officers that knew how to fight a mechanized war. So the people they were up against were half-trained, and they were scared to death to make any decisions for fear that Stalin would be angry with them if they didn't work. So, and of course the Germans still had the air arm and the combined arms. The Luftwaffe was able to wipe out the forward Russian airfields, air bases, gain air superiority over the battlefield, and again, they came across a KV or a T-34, call it the Stukas, deal with it. Or, in some rare cases, you would see Panzer IVs like this one charging T-34s to point-blank range so that the AP round out of this gun would penetrate the T-34. And that did happen quite a bit. The Germans were forced to go in and knife fight. But again, it came down to the training. The sad thing was a lot of the early T-34 crews were barely trained. They may have had a couple of hours with the tank before they went into battle. And so that was a problem in the first couple of years of the war. But by the end of 42, it was a different story. Of course, by then the Germans had finally started to upgrade their vehicles and to bring out the new ones like the Tiger and the Panther and to gain an edge. But the myth of, German engineering and everything, yes, the Tiger was way over-engineered. And in fact, when the Allies captured them, they looked at the Tiger 131 at the Boddington Tank Museum, in fact. The British looked at it and was like, okay, we don't really have to worry. They're not going to be able to build a lot of these because it's so over-engineered. And so that was the problem. The Germans were overdoing it in engineering their later vehicles, and they were also rushing them out. But the Panther was a rush job. And the Panther never fully got over its unreliability issues, especially with its transmission. So again, it's you look at the German tanks, and I know I'm making this sound so pessimistic. I don't want to do German tanks, World of Tanks, but There are good German tanks to play. Definitely some fun German tanks. And I'll get into some much shorter videos where I'll be talking about the individual tanks that I like playing in the German line, like the VK that you saw today. And there are other ones. And just like every other line in World of Tanks, it has its good tanks, it has tanks you'll be disappointed with. But you gotta remember, this is an arcade game, so it doesn't reflect history accurately. Plus, the developers are trying to balance the game so that you, and each tank, so that people don't just grab a certain tank and that's all they ever play. They want you to play other tanks. So, the German line definitely has its fun tanks. It has a few tanks that are not so much fun to play. But just like every other line, it's a fun line to play. And we'll look into more of the tanks in later episodes. And hopefully you guys got some stuff out of this. I know this is a damn long video, and I bet most of you haven't even watched half of it. And I will try and shorten my ramblings. I'm an old man. I'm 56 years old. You know, give me a break. I got nobody to talk to. I got no life. So like my videos. You know, make me feel like I'm somebody. Please. Alright. Until next time. This is Herr Oberst. Auf Wiedersehen.